and welcome to today's Medley Moments. I am very excited to have Robin Washington join me today. One of the most energizing things about the conversations we have in our Medley Moments series is that they give us all the opportunity to learn from the people shaping the future in so many different domains, in business, in leadership, and in how we live and work. Robin Washington is one of those people. Whether it's over a long lunch, longer than probably both of us have anticipated, or at various business convenings, I've always learned something from Robin, a sharper insight, a thoughtful question, or a perspective that challenges me to think outside of my comfort zone, to really explore ideas that are not the familiar, leveraging her knowledge and her experiences. Now, let me share the abbreviated version of her professional experiences just in the interest of time. We could spend the whole time talking about her successes. She's currently the president and chief operating officer. One more time. She's the president and chief operating and financial officer at
Many
Salesforce.
titles.
Many jobs. Let's just leave it at that. She has many important jobs at Salesforce. She oversees everything from global finance and strategy to employee success and real estate. She's been on the Salesforce board since 2013, and prior to her current role, she was the company's lead independent director. Significant achievement through a really important transformation of the business. Before that, she held top roles at Gilead, Hyperion, and PeopleSoft. Additionally, she serves on the board of Alphabet and is the co-founder of Black Women on Boards. There's no doubt she's a powerhouse. But more than that, she's a wonderful human. She's generous with her wisdom and committed to making spaces for others. So welcome, Robin, to our conversation today. Now, I've covered some of the high level points in your background, but what would you highlight as key moments or experiences that shaped your journey?
Well, first of all, a big shout out to you, Edith, as well as for being someone in my trusted circle that I've been able to have those long lunches with. As you know, they feed me with joy and energy. So I'm happy to be here and happy to join your program. But first of all, as I listen to you read that and as I think about the key moments and experiences, I'm starting to feel a bit dated because I kind of added up the years and I'm approaching about 40 years of being on this journey of operating in financial roles in different industries. So a lot of highlights and a lot of lowlights. But if I just zoom out, I'd say core for me has been having a natural curiosity to learn and
Mm.
understand. I am a continuous learner. And by that, I mean, I can learn from everyone and everything around me. I thrive in organizations where the pace of change is fast and where you're forced to really continuously reinvent yourself. And I'd say that's been something that's core, probably even as a child. Like I always wanted to understand how things work or delve more into a business or seek roles where I had a chance to be very close to the operations of the business or understand the business model. One other important aspect of my journey was just learning how to push myself outside of my comfort zone. And I don't think it always came naturally to me, but I've commonly used the phrase to get comfortable being uncomfortable because I know when I am uncomfortable, and not quite sure of how things are going to turn out, it's really a learning opportunity. And it's on the other side of that that I realize I've advanced myself in some type of way. So, and that even includes the failures, right? Those are opportunities as well. So, if I think about those timely moments of moving across country to Silicon Valley in my 20s, living and working abroad and gaining experience to become a global leader, switching industries from tech to biotech, kind of at the beginning of my
Yes.
CFO career, which was I remember a lot of people told me you're crazy, but along the way, I've just always raised my hand for that tough assignment. And my philosophy is can do, will try. And so I'd add the other thing that as I've matured, I also just learned the value of sponsorship and really surrounding myself around people that I could learn from, including the people that I've hired to work for me. And I
Such an
always tell
important
people,
point, Robin.
yeah, you
Yeah.
you want to really put yourself around diverse thinkers. Not everyone that approaches solutions like I do, those that I can banter, they will challenge me. And I think the outcomes are broader and better when you've got diverse thinking at the table. So those are high level, but just some things, if I just step back, I think that have really helped shape, how I've approached my career in terms of the roles, the people I've hired, and kind of the situations I land myself into sometimes.
Can do, will try. I've written that down. That's really
Yeah.
a good expression. And getting comfortable being uncomfortable is something that I have always leaned on. I too feel like those are the moments that you can really break through and move forward. But as you commented, those are also can be times where you can trip, and you didn't take a path that I would imagine at the time was logical, very, very technical across the board.
Yes.
Financial side of the business, did all sorts of roles, technology, biotech. Tell me whether there were moments where you really just said, I don't think this is for me. And how did you gather the perspective and the strength to just keep moving forward?
It's a great question. And I would say it was in those moments of being uncomfortable where, being candidly, you always question yourself. I went through this kind of personal training with a group. The voice in your head is probably my biggest critic, is me saying you've bitten off more than you can chew, or how did you get yourself in this again? But it was really during those times where I really went back to some fundamental beliefs. Even as a child, I had wonderful set of parents that really focused on education, but more importantly, they instilled in me and my brother this sense of I can do anything if I was willing to work hard enough for it. And so my view was figure out how to work hard. And sometimes working hard was also just learning how to work smart, which is asking people and back to surrounding yourself. But really just being a student of the world, and whether it's hobbies, people, and environments, just always realize that when you're uncomfortable, you're stretching yourself and you're growing, and you have to think about how you're going to feel on the other side of it. And it was just seeing that motion happen again and again. And I realized, oh, okay, yeah, it's uncomfortable, but that probably means there's, the other side of this is going to be really good somehow.
Well, it's wonderful that you highlighted the relationship you have with your parents, because I share that support system. It's just so important to be able to look in the mirror
Yes.
and see yourself in other ways than you can envision. And when your parents have that expectation that, if you work hard, if you do your best, there's nothing more. What is it? Is it comforting? It's also challenging. Well, you know what?
I
It's
think
just
it was
right.
challenging yourself. I wouldn't say it was comfortable sometimes. And I remember
I
them
hear that.
saying, you'll figure it out. I grew up in a Midwestern household in Detroit, Michigan. And so we were surrounded by just excellence, and candidly Black excellence, and just people that were entrepreneurs and did a lot of different things. And my parents started in kind of labor organizations, created their own business. So they gave us the seeds, but they made us work for it. I would not say I was a
Yes.
daddy's girl, but we weren't spoiled. You can figure this out. And I think even today, I've lost my dad, but my mom's 94. And even now, she's my biggest critic. So, only with love, though.
Well, we'll make sure to try to do a good job today so we can send
Exactly.
this
Yeah. Who
on.
do you think you are? Right. They keep
Exactly.
you humble, right?
Exactly. Well, no doubt in the different roles that you've played in your family and in
Yeah.
school and in work, there has been change.
Yes.
And some of it seemed like a progression, but some of it has probably been quite jarring. And so let's just fast forward to where we are today.
Yes. Yeah.
Salesforce. Salesforce is a company that is in the front row of the AI revolution. And the pace of change, whether it be AI, whether it be the external environment, all of those things present interesting opportunities, but also challenges. Tell
Yes.
us what you see being a leader at Salesforce, and what's most exciting for you with respect to the future of how we all work, connect, communicate, and thrive.
Great question, Edith. I have to say that this is one of the most transformative moments in the history of technology, which is what drew me to come into an operating role at Salesforce. The AI revolution is a digital labor revolution, as you describe it. We are probably, my boss says this all the time, the last generation to work with all human workforces. And from now on, every job, team, and company is going to employ AI agents to work autonomously alongside us as humans. And when we can work together with agents as humans, we're going to accomplish more than either could do on their own. So firsthand at Salesforce, we've added our product Agent Force. It's our agentic AI platform to help our help site to give our customers 24 by 7 AI powered support. We just hit 1 million agent conversations. And today, agents are autonomously resolving 85% of all customer queries. That's pretty amazing. I mean, in this
85%.
85%, right? And customers get answers faster, and our support teams are able to focus on more complex customer questions. These are engagements that really require human judgment, creativity, empathy, all things that AI can't do. And we're really seeing similar impact in every other corner of our business. We call it customer zero, and we're developing, whether it be from sales to R&D to employee success, how do we leverage this technology to make our jobs more enriching, et cetera. So I think as leaders, we have to appreciate that there's this unprecedented opportunity for growth and value creation with AI. And so while roles are changing, businesses are changing, industries are changing in ways that we really could never imagine, I think what's really, really important to your question is how does it change work? We have to keep humans at the center. And so what does that really mean, Robin, when you
Yes.
say that?
Mhm.
It means building and adopting AIs in ways that augment employees so that the tools to delegate, intervene, collaborate with AI, this is how we're going to extend the capabilities and talent of our employees. It's going to empower them to focus on the work that drives the greatest impact. So it's more than a technology shift, it's really cultural,
Yes.
operational, organizational. This is not a technology that's just going to come out of the office of the CIO or out of a particular group. It's really important to have cross-functional buy-in and dialogue, the right tone at the top, I think, to really leverage this. And the faster organizations adopt digital labor and adapt their workforces, I think the quicker that they can take advantage of the opportunities ahead. But to your point, effective leadership in this era is really going to require rethinking processes, going back to my favorite, supporting continuous learning. So for your employees, how do you upskill them? For instance, at Salesforce, I was on Sunday training myself. We call them trailblazer badges, but ensuring that even on my role, I really want to understand the technology. And so we have to be sure that we're creating platforms for technical and strategic skills, because those are what is going to be in demand in this agentic future. And that also includes soft skills. So agents can never, or maybe AI can't really replicate things like adaptability,
Mm.
accountability, collaboration. So at Salesforce, we're really passionate about empowering our employees and all of our stakeholders with these tools and training so they can be successful in the digital labor era. So you can go out, anyone can go out to Salesforce Trailblazer community and get access to these tools and learn a little bit more about Agent Force. So my belief is that this transformation that we're going through, it won't just be about increased growth, productivity, innovation. We say those words a lot, but I really think it's going to focus on deepening relationships, creating better experiences, and really helping us focus on more meaningful work. I think about the tools even beyond Agent Force that I use. I mean, they are kind of my agent, or they allow me to expand and
Yes.
focus on deeper work, better work than more redundant things. So, it is my my support function that I use a lot, and it's fun. It's daunting, it's challenging, it's definitely getting outside of my comfort zone. But the more you familiarize yourself with it, the better you can see how these tools are really going to help me be a better leader, a better employee, in all aspects of my life.
So I again want to just reinforce some of the things that Robin shared that are so, so critical. First of all, we all have to invest in learning about the AI space, about agents, and put it to work.
Yes,
There are all sorts of tools that are available. You can go to the Salesforce website, Amazon Web Services. There are endless opportunities for us to learn. The only thing that is non-negotiable is not taking
that's
the
exactly
time
right.
to
Right.
start, because it is here, and it can be an exciting opportunity, or it could be a barrier to really increasing your impact in the evolution of organizations. The other thing, Robin, that you mentioned is that there is going to be a center of gravity for human. And so
Yes.
here's the question. If we are taking out some of the things that are adaptable or task oriented that AI or some of these tools can take on, what's left for one to differentiate themselves and as colleagues, as professionals? And what advice would you have for, the many people who are starting out their career or who are in mid-level? What things do you think they should start to focus more on as a result of these shifts in the work
Yeah,
environment?
it's a great question. And I mean, I always step back and say, what's the ultimate outcome? Everyone can think of any type of relationship you have when it's personal, when someone gets you, when they bring to you things that matter to you, when they, whether it's a service provider, a friend or whatever, when you can say, this friend really gets me, when they know when to ask you how you're doing or whatever. I do think that type of meaning, that type of experience, those are things that are going to matter and I think are going to get better with AI. I call them, they're my digital assistants. They allow me to spend more time doing the things that I want to do. But when you step back and think about, if I'm starting a career or what should I do, I still believe, and I tell my young adults this as well, the most important thing that you need to do in whatever environment is figure out how you learn and ensure
Yes.
that you're in environments that allow you to continuously learn. If you're picking a first job, one of the things that I was fortunate to have were programs that they rotated or moved me around, because I told people the first 10 years of your career, you probably are going to learn more about what you don't want to do than what you want to do. So being open and receptive to different experiences, picking opportunities that allow you to get different experiences. But even if you're training, it's like, how do I best learn? And these tools out there give you all ways to improve your own learning. They can personalize it in a lot of ways. So, there's no set answer. We talk about the sciences, STEM, the liberal arts. Again, be a student of the world. I think it's really important to always pick up. I love diverse people that can share different hobbies, different experiences. They're not, I'm a left brain, right brain. I'm a finance person, but I love art. I love fashion.
Yeah.
So I think it's just important to be balanced and focus on what you're passionate about, but know that core skills and learning how you learn and being willing to continue to learn, I think that's what's going to be key, irrespective of what industry or what field you decide. I honestly think the technological evolution that we're going through is going to impact everyone, everywhere. So lots of opportunity.
I think that's right on. And what we're seeing in Medley, which is a group coaching organization, we work with companies who are really investing in what Robin's talking about, creating experiences for small groups of 6 to 8 people to gather with a coach to really learn the things that are going to be required to engage with other humans,
Yes.
either as a peer or as a leader. Things like listening, engaging, debating through
Yep.
agreement, but specifically through conflict. because that's where often innovation comes from. You mentioned
Absolutely.
diverse perspectives, right?
Yeah.
That was such an important point. Like diverse perspectives really fire innovation and growth opportunities for the future. And so what we've seen is that people really are looking for these opportunities. And so whether it's via Medley or you're creating it on your own, Robin is part of my Medley. She can't
Yeah.
shake me because, she does look at things. We have a lot in common, but we have a lot of things that are different in
Right.
terms of our technical backgrounds. And
I,
boy, have I benefited from that.
I love how you say it. I call it constructive friction, coming into
Yes, a good
the new
way to.
role. Everyone's like, how do you work? It's like, it's okay to debate. I mean, at some point, we're going to make a decision, but that decision needs to be our decision, which doesn't mean we're all 100% aligned. But effective leaders have explained the why, they provided the path, and then we move, right? But I do think just creating that ability to have different perspectives at the table. Technology is never going to take that away, to your point. And I think about my learning experiences. I went through my executive MBA. They purposely put us in groups with people from very different backgrounds because learning how to work together, learning how to articulate your viewpoint, sometimes without emotion, sometimes with emotion as
Exactly.
appropriate. All those things are just core skills. Nothing changes that, right? And, there are things that you learn on the job, but there are also things that I love what Medley does from that perspective. I think it's a really important core skill for anyone to think about, and that's not going to change.
Now, I totally am on board with what you're saying. Now, several times you've mentioned the significance of having sponsors, and I will tell you that I have seen you in action as an extraordinary mentor. And, I would like for you to talk about how that's been important to you, both from having sort of that inner circle, that trusted group of advisors, but also what it gives you to show up for other people who are just so interested in learning and having takeaways from your extraordinary experiences. Perhaps also comment on Black women on boards and what you're doing
Yes.
there.
Yeah, I use the for my own personal board of directors, and I didn't always think about it that way. But going back to that fundamental learn from everything, one of my members of my personal board of directors is a friend that I've known since sixth grade.
Oh,
When
that's
we
fabulous.
sewed outfits together, and we went different paths, both CPAs, but she lives in Michigan. I'm here. We see each other, every other year, but talk recently. And that diversity of thought, that being open and being open to feedback. You mentioned sponsorship. Sponsorship is sometimes you don't always know it's there, but I know along my journey there are leaders who took the time to see me and support me and just let me know that I mattered. There are many that we know in common, there are many that we don't know, but I remember those impactful moments when I would meet someone. I remember I talk about her, Virginia Walker. I was new to the Bay Area. I was in the National Association of Black Accountants, and I read about this female that was CFO of a biotech company before I even thought about biotech. And we became good friends. She spent time with me. I've gotten to know her as a person. And sometimes it is just in those moments of you taking the time. She invited me to her office after work and talked to me for 2 hours before I even thought about being a CFO. But the impact that you can have on just taking the time so people feel seen and heard makes a huge difference. And I've always been very committed to developing the next generation of leaders. As I said, I was fortunate enough early in my career to have leaders in management, but also important programs that allowed me to develop different skills. So, when we this was 2020, Marlene Santil and I were talking about board opportunities coming our way and just brought together a group of females that look like us on a Zoom call. And it morphed into Black women on boards. And we focus on helping coaching women to not only find the board seat, but to go through the board interview, to prepare their board bio. Edith, you've been a part of that, bringing, that synergistic of bringing together people. We now have started to do in-person events. And most importantly, create forums where those women can develop their own personal board of directors with others that look like them, because sometimes candidly it can still be very lonely. And it's not only about boards, it is about camaraderie. It is also about encouraging people to continue to strive to be C-suite executives as well. And just, I know I personally get so much energy from those conversations, from seeing those light bulbs switch on, and from people being able to be vulnerable and share amongst other Black women their strategies for success, their trials for failure. It's all about networking and increasing that connectiveness so we can all be successful. So that's something that's just really important to me. And I'd say, beyond work and those initiatives, I think when you step out of your own aura, you can see the world a lot clearer. You'll always see people's circumstances that are better or worse than yours. So I've always been a person to ask, how can I help make the world a better place? And it's important to me as a daughter, as a mother, as a partner to my husband, as a friend. So I think shaping the future is everyone's responsibility, and Black women on boards, as well as other initiatives that I involve myself in and helping the next generation, are my ways of giving back. I love the don't complain, do something. So
Yes.
this is my way of doing something and giving a little bit about my time and perspective to those along the way, the same way people did it for me.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And as I suspected, we are uh, pretty much out of time. But let me just sort of recap some of the things that I think are really, really important. Can do, will try. Have a natural curiosity to learn. Put yourself in these situations where you're uncomfortable, because you will get more comfortable. You certainly will get more comfortable. And Robin, you've really reminded us that leadership isn't just about what you do, it's about how you do it. Leadership is about how you lead. And you've shown us that navigating transformation, especially in moments of complexity, takes clarity and intention. You have to be intentional, and you have to care, actually.
Yes.
Particularly given humans are always going to be part of the equation, and you have to care about humans. You have to have resilience. You've talked about that, and it's something that we can really practice. And I would say my closing uh, point, to reiterate, that you've shared, is that lifting others up is not a choice. It's a
Yes.
responsibility. I would venture to say that there is no one that is making an impact on anything that has not benefited from the support, encouragement, feedback of someone else. So grateful to learn from you. And I know this conversation will ripple far beyond what we've talked about today.
Thank you. Thank you, Edith. Thank you, Medley. And always happy to support your initiatives as well. So hope this was helpful.
Oh, for sure. I've got my notes.
You too, always.
I always.